in all the tapes and all the books and all the notes from the classes and let her stay in the house. But she also is allowed by Allah to go to the masjid as long as she, once again, keeps the Islamic adab, and she's not using the masjid as a social club. She's not using the masjid as a social club. If she uses the masjid as a social club, hanging out in the masjid from Fajr to Zuhr to Asr to Maghrib to Isha, this is a desire. This is not a need. This is not a need. We shouldn't use the masjid as a social club, but rather we should go, get our knowledge, and go back home. The other needs that a woman would have is, of course, to go shopping, to buy food, to buy clothing. Now, some brothers, like myself, I prefer, even though they don't like it, I prefer to do the washing and the shopping myself. As busy as my schedule is, I prefer to do the shopping myself. But I'm finding that I don't know what I'm doing. My wife is always complaining about bringing home the wrong thing or buying 3 and 4 and 5 things that we already have in the house. So alhamdulillah, I've submitted. I've allowed them to go shopping, alhamdulillah. But I still like to wash the clothes because I don't have a wash machine, so I go out and do that. These are some of the needs that a Muslim woman might have. She also has the need to visit her parents. She also has the need to visit her relatives, her near relatives. No man should disallow his wife to visit her relatives. And there are many other things that we can mention, and you can find this, I think, inshallah, in the book that was translated by Sheikh Jamaluddin Zorbozo, the fatwa concerning women, from those ulama like Sheikh bin Baz, and Sheikh Uthaymeen, and Sheikh Jibreen, and Allahu A'lam, and Allah knows best.
There's kind of redundant questions here. They're all, the summary of them is that many women don't listen to their husbands when it comes to the issue of staying home. What's your advice to those sisters?
Many Muslim women go to, many Muslim sisters in Toronto? No, not in Toronto, must be someplace else.
I wanted to flag that one.
Oh, yeah, I don't think it's Toronto, I think it's some. Many Muslim sisters don't listen to their husbands to stay at home and to look to their children. What is your advice? My advice is that they should remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking to them in the Quran when He said, وَقَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ. He's not talking just to the wives of the Messenger of Allah. He's talking to all the women who say that they believe in Allah and the last day. Those women who don't want to listen to their husbands, if in fact their husbands are good men, they're not abusing them, and they're not torturing them, as I call them Muslim terrorists, they're not hurting their wives, they have no reason to disobey them. If their husbands are good men, with good ibadah, and treating them well, then they have to obey them, as the Prophet ﷺ said, أَيُّ إِمْرَأَةٍ صَلَّتْ خَمْسَهَا وَصَامَتْ شَهْرَهَا وَأَطَاعَتْ زَوْجَهَا وَفِي رِوَايَةٍ بَعْلَهَا وَحَضْرَتْ فَرْجَهَا. Any woman who prays her 5, meaning her 5 prayers, and fasts her month, meaning her month of Ramadan, and obeys her husband, and purifies and keeps clean and pure her private parts, and I have yet to find any hadith that tells the men that they can go into any door of Jannah they choose. I'm still looking for one. I'm still looking for a hadith. Any of you brothers know of a hadith that tells the men specifically, just because they're men and because they're duty, that they can go in. Prays her 5, fasts her month, obeys her husband, and keeps her private parts pure, she will be able to go into any door of Jannah she chooses. Any door. If that is not encouragement for a woman to obey her husband, I don't know what is. I have nothing to say.
The question goes, many Muslim women go to public schools where men and women of kufr and sit together. What advice do you give to them?
I can only blame the men. That's all I have to say. If you want your wives rubbing shoulders and rubbing up against or being in the company of strange men, it's on you. That's all I can say.
Can wives go to work to make ends meet? Can husbands or men work in the same environment with women of the West, i.e. in an office and in a factory?
In the office, which would be a lesser of degree in necessity than a hospital, because it's not part of kifaya to learn those things that you have in the office in most cases, or in a factory. I don't think there's any jobs. I don't think there's any jobs in the factories that would be as that would fall into the category as far as kifaya, but for surety, medicine would be a part of kifaya, socially for Muslims. I just read just the other day the opinion of Sheikh Muhammad Nasruddin al-Albani when someone asked him this question. And the question actually was talking about women working as a mumarrida or tabiba, a nurse or a doctor in a hospital where they're only, where they're mixed. And to the best of my memory, from what I read, he was saying that the origin of the woman, the foundation for the woman, is the ayah, وَقَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ, and stay in your homes. But, he said, if there's a situation where, and the actual question was about the jilbab, this was the question, about her wearing a long smock or shirt that goes down below her knees and not wearing the jilbab. This was the actual question. In a nutshell, he said that if the woman works in a situation where it's the hospital is run by women, the directors are women, the doctors are women, the nurses are women. If she has this type of situation, and he said, it seems clear to me that if that's the case, it's going to be in a Muslim country, not in a Kafir country. He said, then it is permissible, provided, once again, that her comings and goings are Islamic, etc. As for the woman working outside of the home, with the permission of her husband, once again, working in factories or whatever, this is on the men. She can't work without your permission. If you have a situation where you can't make ends meet, financially you can't make ends meet, then you should ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it easy on you, to enrich you and increase your wealth, so that you won't have to have your wives subjected to those situations that are going to make them at least uncomfortable, or at most in a haram situation. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it so that our wives can learn those things that are important, fulfill their desires that are rooted in the needs of the Muslim woman, fulfill their desires that are rooted in the needs of the Muslim woman, not fulfill her needs rooted in her desires. Fulfill her desires rooted in the needs of the Muslim woman, and give her the best situation. And the best situation, of course, we're going to have some Muslim doctors that are women. We can't get around it. I don't want my wife going to a Jewish male gynecologist. I don't want my wife going to a Muslim male gynecologist. So we have to have some type of situation where the women can learn those important aspects of this secular life, for lack of better words, and still keep their Islamic comportment.